So, KUCCPS did not pick you. You waited, prayed, and refreshed your portal every 5 minutes only to see that dreaded message. You have not been placed, or else you've been placed in a course you did not want. But what if I told you that was not the end? Welcome back to the KUCCPS Rejected You Watch This series, where we uncover 7 powerful alternatives if KUCCPS fails to place you to your desired course. In the first video of this series, we gave you a bird's eye view of all the 7 options, from inter-university transfer to bridging the courses, private colleges, and everything in between. If you haven't watched that yet, I highly recommend you go check it out after this. It's your roadmap through this confusing season. I've linked it right above and in the description. Now, before we dive in, let's be real. Over 98% of you watching right now are not subscribed. If this video helps you, even just a little, do me one favor. Click that red button. You subscribing isn't just for me. It tells YouTube to show this video to more Kenyan students who need this information. So if you are here, you are family now. Let's win this journey together. Direct. So the question is, what is direct university application? That's the question we're asking ourselves. So it is sometimes called the self-sponsored or parallel program, and it is a way to apply to the university without COOPs. So it is between you and the university, and there is no middleman. So instead of waiting for the government placement, you go straight to the university of your choice and apply on your own, just like a private student. So this route is common in both public universities like UON, JKUAT, Egerton, so forth and so on, and the private ones like USIU, DESTA, or Mount Kenya University. Okay, so um, what are the advantages? Why should I consider this option? The first one is freedom of choice. Okay, so COOPS limits you based on the cluster points, but direct application lets you choose any course as long as you meet the university's minimum requirements. And I know that is a bit confusing. We have a full video on the differences between the cluster subjects and the cutoff. When we talk about freedom of choice, we're talking about COOPS limiting you based on the cutoff points, but not the cluster subjects. So you have to meet the clusters, but you don't have to meet the cutoff points for you to go this direct application. And if you are confused, we are going to put that video on the description above and also below. The second advantage is faster admission. Remember, COOPS places students who are SIAM, but direct applications have 3 major intakes. We have January, May, and September, of course, depending on that particular course and even the university itself. So some courses will have different intakes, and you'll find that even some students get to campuses. They are done with KCC in probably November, December, and then the results are out in early January, and by May, they are already in school. The other one is the lower grade acceptance. Of course, many universities, especially private ones, accept lower grades for some courses. So even if you don't hit that C plus, B minus, A minus, you might still qualify directly, so long as you meet the minimum requirements. We have the minimum requirements, and then we have the overall grade. So in this one, they don't check the overall one. They just check if you have meet the minimum requirements for that particular course, and you don't have to be competitive. The other one is you can access to private and international universities, because COOPS mostly work with public universities, but this option opens doors to private and even some international institutions operating in Kenya. For instance, you find that you might decide you want to study medicine, and when you look at the private institutions or even public ones, but as a self-sponsored student, you are paying cost close to 600,000 shillings or 612,000 shillings a year, right? That is in Kenya. But when you go to the neighboring Uganda, it's approximately between 100 to 200,000 Kenyan shillings a year. So you can see that whole gap. So it's up to you to actually choose. And I'm talking about Makerere University, for instance. So you can actually go out and check on these international universities, and some of them might be cheaper than the Kenyan ones, and you might even get to that option. So that is a direct application. Okay, and therefore those are basically the advantages, but again it comes with the disadvantages part of it. One is no government sponsorship, so you won't get the help or government subsidies in most cases, so you or your family must pay the full amount. However, you might actually apply for the help loan. That's the tricky part. that you can actually go on and apply for the help loan. So you will get the help loan, but not the help scholarship. We are going to do a video and everything to do with help and anything to do with that. So don't worry, just keep subscribing, keep in touch. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe so that this content continue to come to your way, and we might also get new students who are in need of this information. The other one is the higher fees. Of course, as a self-sponsored student, it will cost more, sometimes even double or triple the subsidized rates, right? As I've given you an example, 612,000 shillings a year, and that is just fees. We've not talked about how you live. We've not talked about you living outside hostel or the meals you have to take or even other costs that are not included. And of course, we're also going to make another video for you because we want you to get to university prepared and have made the right decisions. Okay. The other one is misconceptions. So some people think parallel students are weaker, right? And this is changing, but the perception um, still exists. You'll find even some employees are feeling like, you know what, these government sponsored or self-sponsored. But the good thing is it's rarely people will not ask you, people will not ask you for your certificate and it is written self-sponsored or government sponsored. So that is just that a misconception. Okay. Of course, competitive courses still need higher grades. Medicine, law, engineering, even via direct application, these are tough to get without strong KCC grades. That is indeed very, very important to note that in as much as we're talking about direct application, we have some competitive courses that uh, will still be competitive even with a direct, things like medicine. You might still have your B plus, your B plane, you are still eligible because you have made the minimum requirements, but again, it's too much competitive even for the direct application. Again, there is less admission guidance whereby you see COOPS will offer centralized support with direct application. You must handle everything, that is forms, deadlines, follow-ups, etc., etc. So once we're done with that, it's good to just have a comparison between COOPS and the direct application. Of course, the admission time for the COOPS is just once a year, but for the direct application, it can be faster. For the admission rate, it's higher if you meet the cutoff point for the COOPS. But with direct application, it is, yes, it is high with good grades and the resources as well. Course satisfactions, you may not get the preferred course because it's a first come, first basis, and also the merit issues. But for direct application, is more likely to choose what you want. So time to admission, again, we've talked about that. Cost of education, COOPS is subsidized, but for the direct application, it is higher. There is no subsidy. Graduation success, they are basically similar, but yeah, you might find some cases here and there, but generally, it's your hard work. It's not about direct application or government. It's the hard work that you put at the end of the day. Okay, so when should I consider this particular option? So one, if you missed the COOPS deadline, okay, so you can actually decide that I missed the deadline, I can go and apply directly myself. Number two, if you did not meet the COOPS cutoff points, you really wanted to study law, but you never met those cutoff points, you can still go because you are eligible, so long as you've met those minimum requirements. You want a course or university COOPS does not support. That's true. You might want to go to a certain university that is not in the COOPS portal. So you have to go there and apply direct application. And you also ready to join immediately. Like the course you want to study has different intakes, and for the COOPS, it only takes September intake. You want to get in May, you can use this route of direct application, right? And finally, you can afford the course. I mean, why not join? You have the money, you have the resources, you can join that course and you can take it very easily because you have the control yourself. So if that sounds like you, this might be your best route forward. Okay, very good. So uh COOPS did not work out. That's okay, because now you know you still have the options, right? This was the only that alternative. We've covered inter-university transfer and the intra-university transfer and now this, but we still have four more to go. So subscribe so that you don't miss the rest, and be sure to watch the first video in the series if you haven't already. That's where it all begins. And now let's hear from you. Have you ever considered direct application? Would you choose it over COOPS? Let's talk in the comments. And with that, I'm yours truly. This is the Kenyan student. Peace and progress. Have it nice.